Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome to A Loop Through a Loop. We're going to talk about some of the making that I was able to work on during the month of June. I'm a little late. Normally I like to have my videos up before the next month starts, so like right at the very end, but life. Let's just go ahead and start with what I was able to finish. I will start with what I'm wearing. This is the academic sweater designed by Ellie from Skein Deer Knits. I knit it in Knit Picks palette. I showed you this yarn last time. I went on a vacation with our family, and when we came back from that vacation, I was like, I'm ready to cast this on. I had finished another project. I was ready to start a new one, and I don't know what it is about color work, but it does make me want to keep going and finish it. But I don't know if it's so much I don't know if I would call it like fun. Like I want the end product, but to get there, it's more like an impatience, if that makes sense. So my motivation isn't, oh my gosh, this is so much fun, look what's showing up. It's more like, okay, let's just do one more so I can get done with this motif and then get to a rest row. That's kind of where I'm at. So anyway, this got done pretty quickly. I knit this on a US 4, so I just went off of my own gauge and my own measurements, and then used her chart, obviously, to guide my color work, and then how she set up the steeks and all the placements for that. I used a US 4 for the body, US 1 for all of the ribbing, and I have a shawl collar because I made a boo-boo in that when I went to cast on steek stitches for my neck, they were not centered. So I was like, I'll rip back if I have to, but I want to try something. Because my thought is, if I mess something up and then I try to fix it but completely end up messing up the entire thing, it's not a big deal because it's just yarn. I can always remake it. And there's freedom in that. So what I did is I figured out kind of how to center it, and then knit a shawl collar. If I went back, I'd probably I'd do one of two things. Either I'd pick up more stitches and still knit it on a US 1, or I would have just used a US 2 to knit it, because it does pull up the center motif. So it pulls it up, and I'm not quite a fan of that, but it's not a big deal. So since I was already playing around with the neckline, I decided to play around with the hemline as well. And what I did is I actually split it, with the front hem being significantly shorter in width than the back hem. And then the front hem measures the length of the arms, and then I did twice as long in the back. I just kind of played around with it. I was like, at this point, it's not perfect. Like, it's an imperfect garment, so I might as well just play around with it. I steam blocked it as I went to check fit and to check how my color work was going. And then I did give it a proper bath. Feels so nice. It's comfortable, it's drapey. And now I want to make more vests. And I want to play around with adding a shawl collar to them. Obviously, to do that, I would need to move the steek down so that the shawl collar isn't quite so high and tight. I like to be covered. I'm pretty prudish, so this doesn't really bother me. It's up around my neck, so it's warm, but it leaves the front of my neck open, so it doesn't feel like restricting or like I'm joking, which is really nice. So we're going to move on to the next finished object, which is how come I got to cast this on. Like I said, when I finished my bright sweater, I could start my academic vest, and I have. Okay, So here is my bright sweater. I knit this in linen quill fingering weight in pink pop, and the fabric feels so nice. This is super comfortable to wear. Like, I need to knit another loose flowy sweater like this. It's just enough detail to keep me interested. And then what I did is, I mentioned last time, I went ahead and knit the yoke, moved on to the sleeves, and I knit the body last. And what I did is I would measure my yarn every 5 rows and see how many grams I had used, so then I could make sure that I maximized how much yarn that I was using. And I just have a small little pocket scale that I ordered off of Amazon. So I keep that handy with me. It is a tunic length. It hits me about mid-rear. So cute, huh? Yeah. I like the length of it. It has been washed. It's been soaked and laid flat to dry. So when I block, I don't have blocking mats and wires and pins and everything like that. I just get out a towel and lay it flat and let it dry. That's just what I do. And I did modify things. Like, I think I mentioned last time that I took out the increases along the front after you get done with the 1x1 ribbing. I took out the increases because I didn't like the rippling in it. I just wanted something smooth. And I added, after I got done with the yoke, I knew, because of my gauge, this yoke, if you look at other project pages, sits much lower on other people, and my gauge is tighter, and like my row gauge is tighter, and so it hits me on my shoulders, which doesn't bother me. What I needed to do, obviously that's not the depth, nor was it the width that I wanted. I had an ideal bust measurement, an arm measurement, upper arm measurement that I was going for, and so I did a little bit of math to figure out what my numbers were and did raglan increases until I hit those numbers. And this yoke is actually a little bit deeper than what I would typically do. It's maybe like 2.5 inches from my underarm. It's so comfortable. I didn't do any shaping on the sleeves. I just knit them straight. And then I did finish a pair, abrupt change. I did finish a couple pairs of socks. So at the very, very beginning of June, I decided to completely rip out the ranunculus that I was working on because I did not like it at all. I did not like it at all. I was like, I'll never wear this. And I love the yarn. This isn't fair to the yarn. So I made some socks. And I don't have one pair to show you because I made them for my daughter and she's worn them and now they're in the abyss of laundry. But I started with this pair, and it is just kind of like, I didn't follow a pattern. I just had the yarn, I cast on 60 stitches, did a 3x2 rib, and just took everything that I've learned from the socks that I've made, and there you go. So it was a really simple sock, heel flap and gusset, wedge toe, a little bit of athletic striping. The pink is Candy Shop Yarns. The variegated color is Knitted Wits. And then when I was making my second sock, I ran out of yarn. And so I just picked out something. And it doesn't bother me because when I put on shoes, you're not going to see my foot. And I wear these around the house most of the time. And now that I have several pairs of hand knit socks built up, I wear them quite a bit. And I really like them. So I'm converted. I am going to take these socks off right now because the sweater and the socks is a bit much for the beginning of July. Woof. Moving on to whips. The first thing that I want to show you that I've been working on is my Stephen West surprise sock knit along, except I'm not going to show it to you. Surprise! I'm not going to show it to you because it just started, and if there was somebody that was wanting to do it, I don't want to ruin that surprise. And this time I chose yarn that I had been thinking, what am I going to do with this yarn? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I knew I wanted to make socks, and I had a couple ideas floating in my head, but I just wasn't sold on any of them. And then I was like, well, they would be perfect for a Stephen West project. And so that's what I'm doing with them. So that's short and sweet. By the time that we meet up again, the knit along will most likely be over. And so I'll share what my final sock looks like. I'm only knitting one sock as the clues come out because I didn't want to split my yarn, and because I knew with the whole skein that I wouldn't use up a whole skein on a pair of socks. And so I just kind of wanted to keep it, I wanted to be mindful of how I'm using my yarn. So I'm just doing one at a time, one sock at a time, one clue at a time. And it's really nice because I was able to get the cuff and clue one done, and it didn't take all day. Like, I was able to get it done in the span of like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, while my son was in therapy and I was waiting. So that was nice. Something that I just cast on last night because of the humidity. My hair has just, it has a mind of its own. And you know, it's to the point now where the hair that I had lost when William was born has started growing. It's been growing back, and now it's at weird lengths where like it just sticks straight out from my head. And I was like, man, I would really like a headband that's kind of like a wrap. And I was looking and looking and looking. I can't find any of the ones that I've made in the past. So I was like, fine, I'll just make another one. But this time I did a little different. So I found Sari Nordland's pattern for the melon headband, and hers has the headband knit in around, and it has cabling and some Japanese patterning. But I don't necessarily want this headband for warmth. It's really just so my hair doesn't look so crazy. So I only cast on half of the amount of stitches, and I'm working flat. And so I started it yesterday, and I just knit on it. I would do a couple rows, go do something, do a couple rows, you know, do something. Baby's down for a nap, so knock out as much as I can. And so this is, I think this is almost one whole pattern repeat. And yeah, I'm digging it. I had the thought of like, so anytime I'm near the beginning of something that has the Japanese stitches, in the beginning, it takes me a while to really build up steam and start trucking. But once I understand what the pattern's doing, it goes pretty quickly. It's not as burdensome as it feels at the beginning at the bottom. Now her pattern, it calls for a US 2. I'm knitting this on a US 0 because I wanted to. I wanted a denser fabric because I wanted to keep my hair in place. And I just thought, once I block this, I want to see what happens with the stitches. I think it has pretty good definition right now. I am using Holst Garn Super Soft in the color Brandy. At least I think it's Brandy. I'm pretty sure. You know, I took my bands off. I'm living on the wild side. I figure, I mean, I would like this done sooner rather than later, but at the same time, I have some other stuff that I'm working on, and so this will be a nice project to just pick up when I want something just to kind of slow down a little bit. this would not be, it's small, which is great, but the patterning is intricate enough that this would not be good travel knitting or like take with me somewhere while I am waiting, because I have to look at the chart for every single row and make sure I'm keeping on track. Man, I really need that coffee. Since I'm knitting it flat, I wanted the edge to stay clean, so I did cast on 3 extra stitches at the front, or at the beginning and the end, so then I could knit an I-cord edging. There's so much yarn in this little bitty cake. It's amazing. Still one of my all-time favorite yarns. The last thing I have to share with you is a test knit from Florence Sperling. So she put out a test knit for a sweater, and I was like, yes, that's the one I want. And once again, it has another technique in it that I've never done. So in the Fluoro Mini shawl, I had never done intarsia ever in my life. And now I realize it's not that scary, and I like using butterflies. So now if there's something that I want to make with intarsia, the world is my oyster. This time, this sweater uses Rusamine, which is an Estonian inlay technique, and it's super easy. I am almost finished with the yoke. This would be the front. I am using Holst Garn Coast. So this is 55 wool, 45 cotton. It feels so nice. It feels like a sweatshirt. It does not feel cashmere soft, but it feels like your favorite sweatshirt. Well, I don't know what your favorite sweatshirt feels like. It feels like my favorite sweatshirt. The sample that she has is short sleeves. So if I choose to do that, I wouldn't take that long, but I kind of have to, like after I finish the yoke and the short row shaping, that's when I have to figure out, okay, so where do I want to take this? She's included directions for long sleeves. So do I want to do longer sleeves? Like, I think I really like this 3/4 length princess length. I totally could be done with the yoke, except that I cast on my headband. Let me try on the yoke really quick so we can see how it fits, because I haven't tried it on in a while. So let's check that out together. So I scoot up a little bit so that we can see the yoke of the sweater a little bit better. Oh, I'm gonna like this. Sorry, I'm not looking at you. I have a little mirror here so I can see the viewfinder. So this is, oh, I think I'm gonna like this a lot. I'm test knitting the size 4. And like I said, I'm using Coast. My main color is Freesia. And I can't remember the rest of the other names right now. It doesn't matter. Oh, I love it. So you can see the Rusamine color work, and then in between the color sections is just a small little cable section. And it's a 1x1 cable, so it's not that hard or not that tricky. And I'm really liking this. Okay, so after this yoke, I just need to really figure out, where am I going after this? What sleeve length? What body length? So many thoughts. What would you do if you were testing this? What would you do? Would you follow her sample and do the short sleeves and a basic body? Or if you had to play around with it, what's your preferred style? Like, would you knit 3/4 length sleeves straight? Or I don't know, what would you do? That's everything that I've been up with for June, and I guess technically the first week of July. I think things for July are gonna turn out fabulous. So I hope you guys are all doing well. It's so good to see you. I can't wait to see you next time. I hope you stay well.